All right, welcome back, everybody, to our 20th episode of the Thursday Night Book Review. I'm indie author Nick Belisi. Tonight I'm joined by my buddy Steve and Stormy, of course. And we are going to get back into our reading. If you remember where we left off, we were on chapter 10. And in chapter 10, that was when Stella and Gwen had their night of drinking together in the hotel room while they were hiding out from the cops. And we are going to be picking back up what's taking place the next morning. So we are on chapter 11, and if you stick along with us throughout this reading, I do have the Easter eggs, of course, at the end, and I will also be talking a little bit about the progress of Book 3. There's exciting news to come. I posted on Facebook giving you guys a heads up to stay tuned, so make sure you stay along with that. So tonight's chapter is chapter 11, Filth and Lies. So let's get to it. Tonight, Steve is going to be playing the role of Jerry and then also reprising his role of the old twain, Betty. Stormy's going to be doing her normal Stacy and Stella, and obviously I will be narrating and doing Gwen. So let's get right into it. Chapter 11, Filth and Lies. The beeping sound of a truck abruptly woke me up from what I would be considering a pretty good sleep. We must have gone pretty hard last night because as I lifted my head from the pillow, I could tell I was suffering from the world's worst hangover. My vision was still a little blurry as I scratched my head and looked for Stella. Stella was curled up on the floor under a blanket, using it to block out the sun's rays peeking in from the slightly open blinds. I could hear her moaning and groaning, so I could imagine she was probably feeling it just as badly as me. The sounds from outside were so obnoxious, and I thought to myself, who the hell could be up this early doing work outside? Looking over at the alarm clock, I realized it really wasn't early at all, as the clock read 12:17 p.m. I got up from the bed and staggered over to the bathroom and sat down to pee. I flipped the light switch on beside the toilet, but instantly regretted it from the strain it was causing my eyes. When I finished, I got up to wash my hands and then tipped my head under the faucet to try to fix the dehydration I was experiencing. I saw some small bathroom cups by the sink, so I filled one up for Stella and walked it over to her. She was still curled up under the blanket, and I placed a glass of water on the ground beside her and spoke. Hey, I got you some water. You didn't have to sleep on the floor last night.
Thanks. I don't even remember falling asleep last night.
Yeah, it's the cost of doing business when you're drinking like that. I walked over to the table where the bottle laid on its side. We basically killed the whole thing last night between the two of us, with only about an eighth of the bottle left. I saw my pack of cigarettes laying on the table, and I took one out, grabbed my lighter, and opened the door of the motel. As I walked outside, I could see that there was a tow truck with two people by it. The truck driver looked to be loading up a car that must have broken down. The sounds were just so obnoxious, and it bothered me because it seemed like they had no common courtesy for the people trying to sleep. As I sparked my cigarette and took a drag, I thought to myself, maybe if I kept normal hours like everyone else, then maybe I would have been up for hours by now. I walked over and leaned against the pole right outside the room and watched the man loading the truck. As the man made his way to the backside of the truck, I noticed the name and logo on his truck read Lou's Auto Body. The cigarette dropped from my mouth and made me double take the logo. This was my dad's shop, and I hadn't seen one of those trucks or even his name in so many years. Like a moth to a flame, I was drawn to see the truck, and as I approached the man loading the truck, he noticed me and spoke.
Good morning, ma'am. Sorry if I was being noisy.
To my surprise, the man was my dad's best friend, Gerald Steinwald. It had been so many years since I'd seen him, and before I could even try to get away from him recognizing me, he spoke out.
Rita, is that you?
No, Uncle Jerry. That's my mom.
Oh my God, Gwen. Come here, let me have a look at you.
Jerry quickly walked up to me and gave me a hug. I wanted to embrace him back, but I just felt so awkward in the situation. I hadn't seen him in 7 years, and he never made any time to visit me like he said he would. Seeing him would normally have brought me such joy when I was younger, but now, it's like seeing a ghost from my past.
How long has it been, Gwenny?
It's been 7 years, and I just go by Gwen now.
I'm sorry. Wow, you really grew up. You look just like your mom. I thought I was looking at a ghost.
Yeah, I feel the same way right now.
I can't believe it's really you. Where have you been all this time?
I left years ago, and I've just been trying to make it work.
Are you in college now? I know you used to be into writing. Did you wind up doing something with it?
I wish. I'm just here visiting for a bit, and then I'm going to be going back.
Well, you should come over and have some dinner before you head back. I would love to catch up with you.
That's okay, Jerry, and I think I'll pass.
Did I do something to offend you?
It's more like what you didn't do.
I'm not sure what you're talking about.
It's not worth bringing up old wounds. It was good to see you, Jerry. Now I'm gonna head back.
Well, wait, Gwen. Tell me what I did to you.
You weren't there. You didn't come see me after my parents died. I mean, you never even checked on me like you promised.
I know, Gwen, and after your parents died, I took over your father's shop, and it was so much thrown on me at once that I overlooked my promise to you. I was not ready for all that responsibility along with dealing with the loss of your dad. I'm really sorry I wasn't there for you.
It's fine. It's in the past, and there's nothing that either of us can do about it now.
Well, come have dinner with me before you leave, and at least I can figure out a way to be there for you going forward.
It's okay. I won't be in town much longer, and I have a lot on my plate at the moment. I'd rather not relive my parents' accident anyway.
Accident? Do you mean the fire?
Obviously.
Gwen, that was no accident. What were you told?
What would you call it then? An act of God?
I would call it arson or even murder.
What are you talking about?
Your parents were killed that night. That fire was no accident.
Why are you saying that?
Gwen, your parents were going through problems. You do remember that, right?
I remember them arguing, but just like any normal couple.
It was more than that. Your mom was having an affair.
What the fuck are you talking about? My mom would never do that.
It's true, Gwen. I didn't know all this info at the time, but I read your dad's journal that he kept at work, and it outlined what was going on pretty clearly. Your dad's journal said...
You don't know what the fuck you're talking about. My mom would never do something like that.
Just calm down, Gwen. I have the journal. You can read it for yourself. Why would I make this up?
I can't listen any more of this shit. I need to go.
Wait, Gwen. I have things for you. Come see me down at the shop and I will get everything.
I had no time for any of this crap. All the filth and the lies he was spreading about my family. Reopening wounds that had no business being reopened. I was pissed, but now my mind was swimming. Why would he say things like that to me about my mom? There was no way any of this could be true. I stormed off and headed back into the room. I slammed the door behind me. I must have startled Stella a little bit. She was sitting at the table looking over at the bottle we spent the night drinking from.
Is everything okay?
No, not even close.
If you want to talk about it, I am here for you.
Thanks. I appreciate that. I just ran into somebody from my past, and they were telling me some shit that there's no way is possible.
Well, what did he say?
My dad's best friend was outside working on somebody's truck, and when he saw me, he told me that my parents were murdered, and that my mom was having an affair.
Why would he say something like that?
No clue. But I need to get some hair of the dog right now.
What is that?
It's like what I call my hangover cure. I walked up to the table and took the bottle and poured 2 glasses with the little remaining amount of whiskey we had left. I took one of the glasses for myself and pushed the other one over to Stella. I knew having a little drink would definitely help me feel better for what today had in store for us. I took my glass and tipped it back, drinking it all down in a single shot. I could see Stella was really hesitant about doing the same. Trust me, Stella, it'll make you feel better. Stella nodded to me and slowly began drinking it all down. As she was finishing it up, I could tell her body was trying to reject it as she looked down and was about to throw up. But she did manage to keep it down. I felt bad in a way of teaching her the ways of alcoholism, but at the same time, it made me proud that she took it like a champ. As she swallowed it down and gasped for air while pushing a burp out through, she said,
When you were outside before, your friend called looking for you.
Did she say what she wanted?
Just for you to call her. She still doesn't seem very happy talking to me.
Okay, I'll call her back. Maybe she heard something from Betty. As I walked over to give Stacy a call, there was a knock at the door. I turned around to walk over and noticed there was a little note pushed under it. I pulled the note through and looked out of the peephole and saw Jerry walking back towards his truck. Unfolding the note, it said for me to contact someone named Cindy Travers at the TikTok Diner. Underneath that, it had Jerry's name and his phone number with a little note that said, "Sorry, come see me at the shop." I wonder why he was pushing this narrative so hard. Could it really be possible that everything I thought my entire life was a lie? Who was Cindy? If all this was true, why didn't he ever tell me sooner? Every part of me just wanted to rip the note up and leave the past behind me. But there was this little part of me calling from the depths that said it was worth exploring. It's funny how the littlest bit is the one that weighs the most and makes you go against the grain in decision-making practices. I folded the note up and stuck it in my pants pocket. As I looked down, I could see that I was in desperate need of an outfit change. And as I looked over at Stella, I could tell she needed one too. I thought the best thing to do would be to write down a list of things we needed to get done today, and that would be a great place to start. I walked over to grab a little notepad by the phone and started my list. First, of course, was to find more alcohol. The second thing would be to find a change of clothes for us. Third would be to try to contact Betty. And the fourth thing would be to pay for possibly a few more nights here. I thought that was a good enough list for now, as I braced myself to call Stacy and see what was going on. Stella could see that I was writing down notes, and she asked,
What did the note say, and what are you writing?
The note was from the guy earlier telling me to call him and go see some girl at the diner. What I just got done writing is the do list for us today. It helps me stay on the course throughout the day when I have a list to follow. In my history, when you're drinking all day, you tend to forget what you have to do.
That makes sense. Do you mind if I look it over?
No, not at all. I handed the note over to Stella and went back to call Stacy, reaching over to pick up the phone and start dialing when suddenly it began to ring. I picked it up and spoke. Hello?
Hey, how are you? Is everything okay?
I'm fine. I was actually just about to call you. Stella told me you called. Did Betty happen to call you?
No, nothing yet. I want to see you. Can I bring you anything?
I don't know if that's the best idea, Stacy. I don't want you getting mixed up in all this.
Fuck all that, dude. I can't get you off my mind, and I need to see you.
Okay. Then don't get all mad at me if we get in trouble. If you're gonna come here, can you get me a few things?
Of course. What do you need?
Well, we both need some new clothes for sure. And then there's one more thing.
I have some clothes I can bring you. What else do you need?
Alcohol?
Really, Glenn?
Yeah, I didn't come prepared.
I'm not surprised whatsoever. Anything in particular?
Preferably vodka and some chasers, but anything will do.
I'll figure something out. What room are you in?
Room 12. But Stacy, you need to listen to me.
About?
If you come here, I don't want you giving Stella any shit. I'm in no mood today with dealing with the hostility.
Why? What happened to you?
Well, you remember my dad's friend Jerry? Well, I saw him today doing tow truck work, and he told me some fucked up stuff about my family. It's probably all bullshit. I just don't need the extra aggravation.
What did he say?
I'll tell you later. No bullshit, okay?
I'll do my best.
I'm not kidding, Stacy. Keep the gun at home.
Okay, I'll see you in a bit.
Okay, goodbye. I hung up the phone and walked over to Stella at the table to cross off a good portion of my list, and Stacy was taking care of most of it. As I took the notepad from Stella, I could see that she etched in a few things of her own. She wrote down to change her appearance and to go home. I looked over at the list, crossing off things that Stacy was taking care of, and spoke. Okay, so Stacy's going to be bringing us some more clothes and alcohol, so we can cross those things off the list. I see you added some things here, but I don't know if I can get you to your house today. What did you mean by changing your appearance?
So that way, if we go out, it will be less likely I get seen. I know you said it would be hard, but I want it on the list. So we do eventually get around to it. I think it will really help me remember things.
Right, but what do you mean about change your appearance?
I don't know. Maybe cut and dye my hair?
I don't think you need to go to that extreme, Stella. You look great the way you are. We just have to be careful. My goal is to not have you out and about until I hear from Betty anyway.
Well, it's just a suggestion, but I'll do whatever you think is best.
Let's just play it by ear and see what happens today. I knew I wanted to get into the shower before Stacy got here so I can get changed into some fresh clothes. Hopefully today we can get an answer on where we have to go. I walked over to the bathroom and began undressing while the water got warmer. As I stepped into the shower, I started bathing myself and playing out what Jerry had told me earlier again. This was a thought that wasn't simply just going to leave my mind. Once the idea was planted by him, it just began to manifest in the recesses of my mind. As I reached down to grab the oddly red-colored soap, it slipped from my hands and spiraled towards the drain. In that moment, a memory came over me and brought me back to a moment from my childhood. I must have been about 8 to 10 years old, playing in my yard with this red balloon that I had taken from my dad's shop earlier. He was having discussions on repair work and was using the red balloons outside to draw in customers. I was so anxious to ask him for one, and when he told me they were only for the customers, Jerry snuck one out for me and gave it to me. I was so happy and I took it home with me, chasing around the outside of my home without a care in the world. The way the balloon would follow me no matter where I went kept me so entertained. Then I heard a commotion coming from the street where my dad was arguing with some man who had given my mom a ride home. I didn't think much of it other than I could see my dad was really angry. My dad had approached the car, to which I now would assume would be to confront the man, but the man sped off. The yelling and the screaming spooked me enough to let the balloon release from my hands. As I turned around to go back to playing, I noticed the balloon wasn't beside me any longer. I looked towards the sky and realized that it had abandoned me, floating away into the sky above. That was the day that everything started to fall apart with my family. The fighting intensified in my house, and my mom started devoting her free time to her organization. Washing out my hair, the more I started to realize that maybe it wasn't that far-fetched that my mom could do something like that. Maybe it was worth talking to the Cindy woman to see why Jerry suggested it. The name didn't ring a bell with me, but maybe if I saw her, it might invoke something from my memory. As I finished up in the shower, I could hear voices coming from out in the room. I quickly wrapped the towel around me, still soaking wet, and walked out the door. Stacy was standing in the doorway and Stella was laying on the bed. I looked over at Stacy, who was holding some bags, but before I could even greet her, she said,
What the fuck, Gwen?
"What?
You and this chick, really?
What are you talking about?"
You fucked this chick.
"I was taking a shower, Stacy. Chill out."
I'm not into girls.
You jealous much, Stacy?
I'm not jealous. I just thought.
You need to relax and set your feelings aside. We have far more pressing things that we need to take care of at the moment.
Well, I got you all the stuff you asked for.
Thanks. I appreciate it. I'm going to grab some clothes from you. Is that all right?
Yeah, I brought a couple of outfits, just underwear and socks. Also got the vodka you requested.
It's awesome. Stella, pour us a few drinks and you and Stacy get to know each other while I get changed. Stacy, sit down or something. Make yourself at home. Stacy sat down on the chair and Stella got up from the bed and began pouring some vodka into the red cups that Stacy had brought with her. I looked through the bags of clothes that Stacy had brought us and grabbed a few things out for myself. When I found some suitable clothes, I walked back into the bathroom and began getting changed. Every part of me was hoping that Stacy would act like a normal adult and not fight with Stella, but with her accusation just moments before, when walking in the room, I didn't have a lot of faith in that department. I figured I should probably make this quick. As I pulled my underwear up, a knock came at the bathroom door. I walked over and peeked my head out and saw Stacy standing there with a concerned look on her face. "What's up? I'm still getting dressed."
I really need to talk to you in private.
"Well, if it can't wait a minute, I guess come in." I opened up the door and let Stacy walk in. I was standing almost completely naked and Stacy's eyes were staring down my body as she crept into the bathroom with me. "So what couldn't wait, Stacy?"
You look incredible.
"Thanks. Now what do you have to talk to me about?"
I'm really sorry for the way I acted last night. I should have never put you in that position, and I'm really sorry. I have so many emotions going on in me right now, and I just don't know how to handle them. There's so many things I want to say, and I never know when the right time is. This is a big deal for me, and I still can't wrap my head around these feelings I have for you. I just don't know what to do anymore. I feel like I'm losing control, and all I want to do is...
"Stacy, I feel them too. You're not alone in this situation, but for the moment, we have more pressing things we need to attend to. I'm not going anywhere. When this is all said and done, I promise you we're going to figure this all out. Just give me some time to get things settled with Stella before we venture into the unknown. Is that okay?"
I completely understand. I'm just so afraid of losing you, and I just feel so helpless. I know I'm not perfect, but...
I placed my arms around Stacy and kissed her passionately on the lips. The love exchanging between our lips was earth-shattering. I felt the same thing she was feeling, but there was so much more preventing it from flourishing right now. When everything was all said and done, I would explore a future, but now was not the time, and she needed to understand that. As I pulled away from her, she had a little tear in her eye. I raised my hand up to wipe it away from Stacy, and she let out a little chuckle.
Look at me. I've never liked this dude. What are you doing to me?
I always knew you were a softie, but you're a tough girl persona.
Yeah, look at me now. A big tough guy turned to bush.
We're all good, Stacy. Just be patient with me. This is all new for me, too.
Not a problem. Just please call me out on my shit if I push things too far, okay?
I always do, don't I?
Yeah, you can be a real pain in my ass sometimes.
Oh, I know I can be. Do me a favor, will you? Get to know Stella a bit. We had a good life talk last night, and she really is a good person. She's had a really tough life, and she could use some good friends right now.
Only on the condition that you bring that fine ass over here and give me another kiss.
I rolled my eyes and chuckled at Stacy before coming back into her arms and kissing her. She tasted so sweet and it almost made my knees weak. I didn't want to awkwardly leave Stella out in the room, and this was not the time nor the place to let things go any further. I pulled away from Stacy, still tasting her on my lips, and said, "Okay, you had your fix. Now go make some friends."
Ugh, you're gonna be the death of me, you know that?
Yeah, I know. Now let me get dressed. Stacy exited the room and closed the door behind her. She really had a way of pressing my buttons like no one else, but just seeing her face and kissing those lips melted all my troubles away. As I put my clothes on, I could hear Stacy and Stella talking in the room. I couldn't make out exactly what they were saying, but at the very least it didn't seem hostile. I was thankful that World War III wasn't breaking out before me again. Once I was dressed, I exited the bathroom and saw the two of them sitting at the table looking at each other. I turned around and picked up my dirty clothes and then put them in the heap near the bed. Still wringing out my hair onto the floor, I said, "Stella, why don't you jump in the shower and get yourself cleaned up?"
Okay, thanks.
Stella walked over the clothes on the bed, staring down at them like a little kid waiting for permission to take something. I walked over and nudged Stacy to get her attention, and Stacy spoke.
Feel free to take what you need. If you guys need any more, I can get you some. Thank you for all of this.
"It's no problem, Stella." Stella gave me a little smile and headed towards the bathroom. As she entered the bathroom and closed the door behind her, I sat down across from Stacy and grabbed the drink Stella had poured me. I started to sip on the drink when Stacy asked,
So, what did you guys do last night?
We got a little shit-faced and swapped some stories.
I could tell. I saw the empty bottle of whiskey you have laying over there.
Yeah, I squirted off that creep at the front desk.
How would you manage that?
Well, I just turned on the charm and had him eating out of the palm of my hand.
Is that so?
Yeah, I did. Guy actually thought he was going to sleep with me and showed up here last night trying to come in with a hard-on.
Are you serious?
Oh, yeah. He came to the door with his little buddy at full attention.
That's so fucked up.
It was actually hilarious. Stella and I fell on the floor dying, and he ran away all ashamed.
You can only imagine.
As Stacy and I sat there chuckling about Ricky making an ass out of himself, a little chime began to go off from Stacy's pocket. She reached down and pulled out her cell phone. The phone was ringing, and as Stacy looked down to see who was calling, all the laughter and joy coming from her washed away. She turned the phone so I could see who was calling, and the number said Reedsville Police Station. Ooh, I think my page is stuck here. 1 second. Answer that, and make sure you put it on speaker. Stacy answered the phone, putting it on speaker, and spoke.
Hello?
Oh, hi there. It's Betty. I was just calling to see if you had taken care of little Lucy for me.
The two of us looked at each other in confusion, wondering who the hell Lucy was. She must have been talking about Stella and using code words because she was at the police station. I pointed towards the bathroom and mouthed the word Stella to Stacy. Stacy nodded her head, understanding what was going on, and spoke.
Yes, Lucy is fine. She is all taken care of.
That's wonderful, dear. Thank you for doing that. I'm just wrapping up things here at the police station, and I will be home to relieve you.
Is everything okay over there?
Yes, of course. Just a little misunderstanding. It shouldn't be much longer. Just wanted to make sure Lucy was taken care of.
Yes, everything is all well and fine.
That's just wonderful news. When I get out, I will give you a call and let you know I'm on my way.
That sounds great. We are certainly looking forward to seeing you.
Okay, dear. I'll talk to you soon.
Okay, bye.
As Stacy hung up the phone, she asked,
You think it's a good idea to meet up with her right now with the police watching?
"I'm not sure, but that thought crossed my mind too. Maybe when she calls back, we'll go to the general store and meet her for like lunch without Stella, just to make sure it's safe."
That's probably a smart idea, so I guess we'll just hang out here in the meantime.
Yeah, I might need to stop somewhere else at some point today.
Well, I took the whole day off, so I'm all yours all day. Did you want me to just go get whatever you need so you can sit here with her?
I wish it was that simple. I have to go see someone at the TikTok diner.
Who is it?
Some woman named Cindy that Jerry told me to go talk to. She might have some information about my mom that he thinks is crucial that I hear.
What could she possibly tell you about your mom?
I don't know for sure. Jerry seems to think that my mom was cheating, and that my parents' death was actually A loud scream came from the bathroom and startled Stacy and almost completely out of our seats. We both stared in the direction of the bathroom in complete shock. Neither of us knew what to do. I slowly inched towards the bathroom with Stacy following closely behind me. As I approached the bathroom door, I could hear Stella crying hysterically from inside. The water was running, but the sound Stella was making was far louder. Growing increasingly concerned, I knocked on the door and spoke. "Stella, are you okay in there? What's going on?" Stella didn't respond back to me and continued crying. I looked at Stacy and said, "What do we do, Stacy?"
I have no idea, dude. Was she like this last night?
No, not at all. Stella let out some more harsh screams through her tears, and I knew in my heart I had to get in there and make sure she was okay. "I'm taking that fucking door down." I started to ram my shoulder into the locked door, but nothing did seem to budge or the door even open. I really started to panic now, and I looked for Stacy to help. As she pushed me aside, she said,
Stand aside, I'll take this shit down.
Stacy, standing a few feet from the door, readied herself and gave it a few solid kicks below the door handle, and the door flung wide open. We both rushed into the bathroom to make sure Stella was okay, but what we saw next just made everything much more complicated. And that is chapter 11. Thank you guys. You guys did a great job. That was awesome. We had the old Twain back. We were really getting into it today.
Yes.
Yeah.
Good chapter.
Yes, very good chapter. So, chapter 11, Filth and Lies. Here's our Easter eggs. I have 3 of them. 1, the title Filth and Lies is actually a direct quote from the movie Silent Hill. There's a part, if you think about it, when Dahlia is talking to the main character, there's a woman that was guiding them through the town and stuff like that, and she picks up rocks and she's like throwing it at her and stuff, and she's just saying, "Filth and lies." That's actually where that came from. It's also because, you know what I mean, the stuff that Jerry is telling Gwen, she thinks is just disgusting and not true. So, you know, it was worked into it that way as well. The second thing, when Gwen is sitting there and she comes back in from talking to Jerry, she pours herself her morning drink and stuff like that and refers to it as the hair of the dog. I put that in there because that was my morning routine for a long time when I would wake up. You know, you would have that to kind of even out and stuff, so that way you wouldn't be feeling all the anxiety and everything else associated with it. So it was a little nod to how I was living back when I was in the Navy. Now, the last Easter egg, the story that Gwen tells, that she remembers actually when she's in the shower, about how she was at her dad's shop and there was the red balloon that she really wanted, and Jerry gave it to her, and she was just carelessly running through her yard when she got home, chasing around the balloon, letting it fly around in the wind, and then like her parents argued and stuff like that, and then it spooked her enough to let the balloon go. The reason that why that was put in there, that memory in particular, to not only give weight to the story about her starting to remember that maybe there was somebody else because she remembered that memory in particular, but because the original cover of the book was a picture of my daughter and her red balloon. And I took this picture when she was at my dad's house running around with it, and then she let it go. And just as she was standing there, just watching it float away and stuff like that, I was like, wow, that's an incredible picture. So I snapped a picture of it, and when I was thinking about what to do as far as a cover for the book, that was the thing that stood out to me originally before I changed it to what it currently is. However, the original cover, this cover, you could still get if you're on Amazon and you order the soft cover version. That one is still that, but then the hard cover is the alternate version of Gwen standing in the fire, which looks like this. So that is where that nod came in and where that little Easter egg came from. So with that being said, a couple things. So next Tuesday, like we talked about, we're going to do our Tuesday night healing, and we're going to be talking about impulsivity. Again, an exciting one that I'm looking forward to because I have a lot of experience with that, so we'll have plenty to talk about with it. Next Thursday, when we do our next chapter, we're doing chapter 12, The Old Clock Diner. Now, that in itself is an Easter egg because if anybody who's from New Jersey knows, when you're going down, what is it, 46 or 3?
It's Route 3, actually.
Okay, so when you're going down Route 3, this diner is actually, on Route 3. So you could see it I mean, you could even look it up and stuff like that. But the way I described it and stuff in the book is exactly how it looks. I'd only visited it once in my entire life, but I thought it was unique enough looking to add to the story. And coincidentally, when I was writing that part of the story, I was going down to my daughter's cheerleading events and stuff like that. And that was the diner that we sat and ate at one day. So I just used that. So, but again, we'll get into that with chapter 12. Chapter 12, I think, out of the entire story, probably has the most Easter eggs. So that's something to look forward to as well. Now, a couple other things. I was doing a lot of progress with book 3. And basically what I've been kind of adhering to is a chapter a week. However, I did my chapter for this week. I finished that the other night, or the other day. Actually yesterday, and I read it to Stormy. So I did chapter 11 yesterday, read it to her. And I mean, I can say, I don't know if anyone saw her Facebook post or anything like that, but that was an intense chapter. I mean, Stormy, like, what did you think about that?
That probably was, out of all 3 books, that right there was just I don't know, I guess the buildup was so great that that chapter just, wow. I mean, like, my mind was blown.
Yeah, and it brings a lot of clarity to the entire story. Because, again, if you read the first book, it's kind of confusing as to what's going on. Like, Stella seeing all these demons and things like that. But if you stuck with us long enough and you made it to this part, where in this book, this chapter explains literally all of that. It gives complete closure to not only all the questions of the first book, but all the questions of the second book too, and kind of talks about like how they've gotten to this point and who actually was pulling the strings all along to get them to inevitably where they are currently. So it brings a lot of answers to that. And it's a lot of twists and turns too as far as what's going on. I mean, especially the very last line of that chapter is just like, whoa. What just happened? It's just wild. And I can't wait for everybody to see it. And, you know, we're on our timeline with it. So, like I said, early spring we're looking at, as long as like the review process and everything goes smooth. I mean, that's when we should be looking at it. But keeping up with that 1 chapter a week thing, when I went into work today, I barely got any sleep last night because I got screwed around again and I had to do a 12-hour day. And I just had so much anxiety and insomnia that I really didn't get a whole lot of sleep. I've been up since 2:30 this morning. And I had to take a nap when I got home because I was so exhausted. But, you know, what happened was that when I got to work, I was just, like, in a weird mood. And I find, like, when I'm in these weird moods and stuff like that, that's when I become the most effective with my writing. So being at work today, you know, walking around and stuff like that, I kept thinking about, you know, why is this one thought in my head? And I was like, well, maybe I can go forward with chapter 12 with this idea. But then it hit me. I was like, you know what? No. This is how this book is supposed to end. I knew how I wanted to end, at least a rough outline of it. But when that idea came in my head and it almost like played out like a movie behind my eyes, like thinking in my head, you know, I was like, wow, this is it. Like this is how this book is supposed to end. So I sat down today and I banged out the entire end of the book. Now, that's not to say that, you know, I have still 8 more chapters to write. I have to write chapters 12 through 19, but at least the end is done. So everything in those fillers right there is just going to finish out the story and sever all ties to give it a complete ending to get us where we need to be. I'm really excited about it. I have to admit, it may sound stupid, but with my work and stuff like that, with these books, it's been a long time coming. You have to assume that I started coming up with the idea for this book back in 2014 as a project for school. And it kind of just like manifested from the years. I would work on it a little bit here, a little bit there. I'd come up with, oh, this is a good idea to throw in there, or this is an interesting character. It went through so many changes about where I wanted the story to go. I mean, originally it was supposed to be like a kind of like side project along with like a Silent Hill type-esque thing where, you know, something was wrong with the town of Reedsville. But then I really didn't want that. I didn't think that was original enough, so I had to come up with my own original idea. And then I pushed it with the whole PC3 thing and the ability to alter one's memory and stuff to forego giving them a sort of paradise within their mind, to not feel that trauma or things that normally would hold a person back from their early adulthood or childhood, and to give them that everlasting peace that they could be the person they're supposed to be without the other things that impact their life. So for example, like if a child was abused or something like that, that's not something that they did to themselves. That was something that happened to them, but ultimately changed the course of their life and didn't allow them to fully develop into the person they're supposed to be. So by using that PC3, it gives them a second chance at life by erasing all those things that's guiding them in the wrong direction. I thought that was a more clever approach to doing things, and that's why I went with it. Because who wouldn't want to be rid of any of their trauma and stuff from their past? Who wouldn't want to, if they had a bad relationship or something like that, be able to just get rid of it, not worry about it, and keep moving on? Because if you're in a relationship, let's just say even in adulthood, and you're with a guy and the guy beats the crap out of you, you're going to be scarred from that. It's going to emotionally affect you and everything else. And even current relationships going forward and stuff, you're always going to be weary that the next person is going to do that, or the next person is going to cheat on you, or the next person is going to leave you, or the next person is going to do whatever. But if you have that fresh, clean start, you're not being held back from preventing yourself from taking these chances and feeling these experiences. And that was more of it, because especially during this time, I was going through a relationship where I was being cheated on and stuff, and even to this day, it hinders a lot of things with me about going forward, because I'm always afraid that this shit will happen again, and I'm never going to let that happen to me again because of how terrible it was. However, if I was given the opportunity to take that PC3, you wouldn't have that worry, you wouldn't have those memories and stuff. But that's where it kicks in with the consequences, because let's just say I did that and I erased that part of my mind. How would I have justification on who my daughter is and where she came from? Not everything is so black and white. There's a lot more to life than that. There's a lot more of these things, and that's why this medication came with so many complexities. That's why Stella is not remembering things correctly, and why it's all out of whack for her. Her emotions are up and down, which over the next couple of chapters you're going to see clearly, especially the next one. It starts with just showing exactly how off the rails she went. But it's because of the medication. Imagine living your life, but then suddenly forgetting it, thinking that your life just started today, and then boom, just like that one day, it all comes rushing back, and all those emotions and everything from years and years of things just hit you at once. You're gonna implode. You're not gonna be able to handle all that input that's coming in. And that's precisely what's happening to her as the medication is starting to wear off, because it didn't erase the memories, it just suppressed them. And now the medication, she's not taking it anymore, she's not in the hospital, they're starting to reemerge, and she's feeling all of those emotions. So, I don't want to give away any spoilers. I don't. But if you made it this far with us tonight, there is one thing I do want to leave you guys with. And I know I told Stormy about this earlier today too. The ending is going to bring, I believe, satisfaction. I do. In this writing, like I was saying before, I've been doing this for 10 years now. And to finally be at the end and seeing how the story ended and all the characters that I thought of and brought to life, it's coming to a close. I'm right in the home stretch for this. And I did get a little emotional today when I was writing the ending, especially the last page or two. It was just a lot, because I created these characters, so I feel close to them. But to know that that part is just going to be over, like an end of an era type deal, it was a lot. It was. And I am enjoying writing this. I'm enjoying having fun with the characters and stuff, and bringing their personalities to life so people can understand it. But the little teaser I'll leave you with before we log off tonight is the books. There's 3 titles. There's The Souls of Paradise, Family is Forever, Paradise Reborn, and Paradise Eternal. If you look at all 3 of those titles and really think about them and the progression that goes forward with it, think about that, and you'll be able to figure out just exactly where the ending is going. And I'll leave you with that, and no more teasers about the end. You'll just have to wait until the book is released to finally figure out how the trilogy comes to an end. And I really think that everybody that has stuck around with the stories and stuff like that, I do think that you'll be satisfied. I think it'll be a happy sad, but I think it'll be a satisfactory ending. So with that being said, huge shout out to you guys for helping me out tonight with the reading and stuff like that. It's always a pleasure. Next week when we come back, Steve is going to be reprising his role of Betty again. He'll also be doing Detective Chris Hunt, and that's an exciting character. So that's where I have with that. Thank you guys again for sticking around. I look forward to getting this book finished for you, and I hope that you enjoy it. And I would say probably by the end of next month, we're going to start doing some advertising for it, get you guys pumped up, a couple more teasers here and stuff like that about different things. Get some videos created, some more AI images to show like the characters and what's going on. And, we'll get you guys pumped, because I want you guys to be excited about this because, like I said, it's the end of an era and I know it's a huge deal for me. So thank you guys for joining, and I will see you again next Tuesday for our Impulsivity healing.